right, thank you everyone. So great to see everybody out here, this cold weather, possibly a wintry mix coming our way. I see some big families out here. I hope everybody's stocked up on their bread and milk. I think we might need it. So thank you for coming out here, marching, standing for the preeminent issue of our age, as noted by our USCCB, and that is opposing abortion. As mentioned, some of you know me. I think I know some of you out there, but OBGYN here in the Charlotte area. I have a practice dedicated to pro-life principles. And I want to start off by saying what a treat it is for me. It is an absolute joy to take care of women, that y'all let me take care of you through your pregnancies and outside of your pregnancies. And so I have this distinct honor of being able to guide women and mothers through the most difficult, sometimes scary moments of their lives, times that are just emotionally draining. But simultaneously, these are the most joyful, meaningful, and memorable times, the best moments of life. And I get to be a part of that, and it is never lost on me what a privilege it is to be there for that. And so my promise and my commitment to the women and the people of North Carolina and South Carolina is to always honor and advocate for the most vulnerable individuals in our society, and that is the unborn babies in their mother's wombs. And this is becoming increasingly important to recognize that these lives must be protected at the very earliest stages. Now in the United States, 60 to 70% of abortions are performed in the first trimester in an office with a doctor just writing a prescription. However, there is no doubt that a new human life, a new human being, comes into existence at the moment of conception. I have this I like to reference when I'm talking about this, I have this great image from my embryology textbook, and it's chapter 4, big bold letters, chapter 4, and the title is Fertilization, Beginning a New Organism. So fertilization and conception, these are synonyms, they're the same thing. And so then the rest of the chapter goes on to explain why at this moment a new individual comes into existence and then develops into the people like us standing here. And so to say it one more time, conception is when a new individual is created. And this is the scientific consensus. This is irrefutable. There was a survey a couple years ago, over 5,000 academic biologists. 96% of them agreed that fertilization or conception is when a new organism comes into being. That same survey found that only 38% of Americans had that same opinion. So we've got some work to do there. But this is when protection needs to start. So what do we do? What is the next step knowing that this is the case? So we've heard talk about laws. Laws are definitely a good place to start. I remember exactly where I was when Roe versus Wade was overturned. It was one of those watershed moments, those times that are just etched into our consciousness as Americans. We were on a family vacation down in Orlando at Disney World. We were standing in line for the Expedition Everest, the Yeti ride, the roller coaster, great ride. And everybody in these little pockets were all kind of talking to each other. It's the wonder of social media that everybody in line found out instantly. Well, what happened, as soon as Roe versus Wade was overturned, there were states with trigger laws that immediately banned abortion or enacted these heartbeat laws. And already in those states, tens of thousands of babies' lives have been saved. And so the laws really do matter. And what Roe versus Wade did is it kicked these protection of babies down to the states. And what that means is, as individuals, all of us here, we have a more effective way to enact these changes because we can more easily influence a local state representative. In fact, it may be that somebody standing in front of me here might decide to be a pro-life state representative. We need people to get elected who have these views so we can make these changes. Currently in North Carolina, we have a 12-week abortion ban. And that would not be possible if we didn't have a majority of pro-life state representatives who are able to override the governor's veto. And so this is a good start because Charlotte, right here, North Carolina, is an abortion destination. Our neighbors to the south, South Carolina, Georgia, they have heartbeat laws. So women in those states will travel to North Carolina to have their abortions. Previously it was 20 weeks. We've moved it down to 12. So that makes it harder for women who are traveling to get these abortions. And so that's definitely a good start. But we need to do better, because in the United States, 90% of abortions happen in the first trimester, before 12 weeks. And so it is possible to pass more restrictive laws. But as Father was just mentioning, what we really need is the conversion of hearts and minds of the population. And so that means we need to create a culture of life. And so how do we do that? And so that starts with every one of us. Each of us here standing here in this freezing cold weather, and it happens through the conversations and the actions that we do. Pretty much everybody here, and I feel confident in saying this, will at some point encounter someone who has an unplanned pregnancy. It might be a family member, a coworker, as Father Asik mentioned earlier today, a college friend or a college roommate. And so how we approach that, how we talk to that woman, can mean the difference between life and death. Now, that means we may have to do something. It might mean helping to care for that child, helping the mom, doing something. It might even mean adopting and raising that child. But we, through our actions, can change this culture, and it can spread. And I'm in a unique position as a OBGYN that I have these conversations on a fairly regular basis. And this is what I found through these interactions, is that when women come in, they are conflicted. Their lives might not be in a place where they want to be to raise a baby. Maybe the relationship is having a problem. But there's also this sense they have that abortion is more than just taking a pill or doing a medical procedure. There's something deeper going on. And I think that there's a way to tell women about the humanity of their babies, the babies that they're carrying within them. And I think we need to tell women that there's help for them, that if you choose to keep your baby, it's going to be okay. There are resources and things we can do to help. So in my years of practice, I have never once, not one time, met a woman who regretted the decision to keep her baby and choose life. And it's amazing. And I see women after they've made this decision, they've delivered their babies, they come back to see me for their postpartum visits or their annual exams, and they come back to the office where they had this conversation with me, and there are just tears of joy because they're here with their baby. The nurses, everyone sees their baby, everyone's cooing and admiring the baby, and they're so proud to show off their baby that with God's grace and help they created, and they're so proud of their babies, and they should be proud of them. And this is the sort of culture that we want, where you feel proud for making the right decision, that you saved a baby's life, and they just can't even imagine having chosen the other way. So unfortunately, it doesn't always end up that way. Sometimes, despite all of our best efforts, women will choose or sadly be forced into abortions, but that doesn't mean we don't stop trying. And this is the sort of culture that we need. And we can have that kind of culture. It is a fallen world. It's not going to be perfect. There's messiness, at least until Christ returns. But we have to be willing to be honest, and that takes courage. But the good news is the science is on our side. The logic is on our side. We have all the arguments. We just need to spread this word, spread the culture. We need to vote. And most importantly, and finally, I will say, we must pray without ceasing. We need to pray for our country, pray for our state, pray for our cities, pray for our neighbors, pray for our families, and pray for life. We give thanks to God for everything that we have, and everything we do is for the greater honor and glory of God. May God bless you all, and thank you.